Hello and welcome to The Big Fight. The question of reservations or affirmative actions back in the headlines, or at least they would be back in the headlines if the media wasn't completely obsessed with a particular murder that we all know about. But anyway, in general, the question of affirmative action is right back there. A, because you have this agitation that is taking place by the Patels in Gujarat asking for some form of reservation, and then we have had the Vice President pointing to the condition of the Muslims, and as a result of that, and asking whether affirmative action is the way that we should go in that particular case as well. So the entire question is back, and we're going to be taking a look on The Big Fight today on the question of reservations in general, and specifically the concept of affirmative action either for the Patels or for the Muslims, or are there any other communities that we now need to be thinking about. And joining us to take us through all aspects of this, we have with us right here in the studio Francois Gauthier, who's the editor-in-chief of La Revue, and Dr. Chandrabhan Prasad is a Dalit writer. Thanks a lot for joining us once again. Professor Ashish Nandi, who's one of the country's top sociologists. Professor Hilal Ahmed is assistant professor at the CSDS. It's great to have you with us. Professor K.L. Chopra, who's the ex-director of IIT Kharagpur. Great to have you with us as well. Waris Pathan is joining us from Mumbai, who's an advocate and an MLA from the All India, from the AIMIM, which is Mr. Owaisi's party, which has been talking very strongly about the need for reservations for the Muslims. We have Hardik Patel joining us as well from Bangalore, and joining us from Delhi is Udit Raj, Lok Sabha MP from the Bharatiya Janata Party. I'm going to come to the question of affirmative action for the Muslims in just a couple of minutes, but the concept of reservations, why at all should this apply to a community that is relatively been better off, been politically powerful, has had a lot of influence? Why should a community like that ever need reservations?
It doesn't need reservations. It should not be given reservations, and the political class ought to throw this demand back in their face. The reason they're not doing it is that the Patels are very strong. They're very unified as a bloc, as a voting bloc, economically very strong. It's the fear the parties have of the people making this demand that's stopping them from saying what is obviously true, that this is a demand which should not be met.
So political power, in other words, is going to start determining the way these demands are met. Udit Raj, this is going to be a serious question though for the BJP, for the simple reason that the BJP in Gujarat has really relied a lot on the support of the Patels, and now we have seen a demonstration of that political power in Gujarat, over the last week. So is this something that is now going to put the BJP in a tough position?
You see, such euphoria recur, and about 140 engineering colleges are there in Gujarat, maximum number of engineering colleges as per population of the state. And many of them have become engineer, of course, with less marks and, of course, less merit, whatever it is. Now, most of them are jobless. So what happened that there is a frustration among them. But they think that reservation is a panacea, means that reservation is a means of economic empowerment, but that's not true. Even if reservation is done away with, yet they cannot be accommodated. How many seats are available? So 25 crore ki abadi hai, and in civil services, how many are selected?
No, I get that point. I get that point. Udit Raj, you're making a broader point that I do want to come and discuss, and at the end of the day, I think...
Let me complete that, that the reservation is based on social and educational backwardness, and it is not means of economic development and economic empowerment. So my dear fellows, they are somehow misled. They are in illusion that because of reservation they are unemployed. That's not true.
Right. So the broader question, which I'm going to come back to all of you on, is that why still this fascination for having to rely on reservations, or for that matter, having to rely on government jobs? I was absolutely horrified to see the reports, as I'm sure all of you were, the number of people who are applying, including university graduates, for a job as a peon, essentially serving, tea and other such stuff. Then 75,000 applicants. It just shows that there is still this attitude and the mentality that somehow a government job and reservations is the right way forward. But specifically, Francois, on this entire concept of who should be given reservations and in whose favor affirmative action should be done. This is still continues to be a very emotive issue.
Yeah, I think it's a tragedy for India because there is an aspiration today in India to go beyond caste. I think there is a real aspiration. People don't say this in the media, but there's a real, among the youth, among people in the big cities, there's a real aspiration to go beyond caste. At the same time, what started as a genuine, demand by people who were deprived in India has today flipped over. We see people like A. Raja, the minister who lived in palatial house in Madras, who's from the lower caste, and we see the upper caste. I'm married to an Indian, so I know the other side of the story. She's from an upper caste. The upper caste feel discriminated against today because they don't have job, they don't have quotas, they don't have place in universities. Even if they have very high standards, they don't get admission.
So you're saying that by now the upper castes are discriminated against?
Yes. That is the tragedy of this whole, and the politicians are using it. They're dividing India more and more between castes. Whereas India wants to go beyond caste.
So you're saying a reservation should be done away with completely, or then you should have reservations for upper castes also, which almost
no, that will become absurd. It'll become like Kafkaesque. It's absurd. Reservation should be done away with. I think the job has been done, maybe not completely, but in greater part. This is a tragedy for India.
Chandrabhan?
I agree that there is a underclass formation from within upper caste, and that needs to be addressed. But reservation is not an employment exchange. Let me give just two instances as how Dalits are oppressed. I am not going in the past. On May 22, a Dalit youth was marrying a Dalit girl. He wanted to ride a horse. In presence of police force, he was stoned. He wore helmet. On June 18, two Dalit brothers in Pratapgarh district of Uttar Pradesh cracked JEE IIT in general category, and they became instant hero. What happened in the evening? Their house was stoned by the caste society.
So I get your point. You're saying that oppression and discrimination against Dalits continues till today. So therefore, there is a case for them to continue to get affirmative action.
Patels for 149 years believed and claimed that we are the real Rajputs of Gujarat. My question is, the Patel community has this big moral question. How come all of a sudden they become backwards?
Okay, Akar Patel, before I come to the rest of you, Akar Patel, let's address that particular aspect of it, because frankly we are all still, and you said the same thing, we are all still struggling to get our heads around the concept as to how a politically dominant caste. I get what Chandrabhan is saying, there is still discrimination against Dalits, something needs to be done, but when it comes to the Patels, what are the reasons that are being stated right now by them to say that there should be some preferential treatment given to them, other than saying, oh, isn't it sad that I got 90%, I didn't get into a college, and that person got 50% and got into a college? Yes, we get that merit question. It's been there right from the point reservation started, and there is an aspect to that. But anything else other than that?
There is a negative aspect to it, and I took part in anti-reservation agitations in Surat in 1985. I was 15 years old. We were rioting then. We killed 100 of our fellow Gujaratis then. We were rioting against the fact that the neo-Kshatriyas were given reservations, who are our great political rivals. And we did not want that. We wanted the lower castes to remain in their place and be told what their place was. So that is the negative aspect to this reservation, which is an ancient grievance that the Patels have had. There is a positive side to it, and that comes from the modern economy. Gujarat, the BJP has forbidden the poor families of Gujarat from giving their children English education till class 5. Age 10 is when they are taught ABCD. They cannot compete in the modern workplace. Though Gujarat has 2 of the 10 largest cities in India, Surat and Ahmedabad, it has zero presence of the IT and IITs companies. Middle class mobility going in from the lower middle class into the middle class and into white collar jobs is absolutely zero. I had to leave Surat in 1994. I don't think it's changed since then.
Now, Professor Nandi, what to your mind is still driving this entire politics of reservations?
I think the Patels feel they are one of the, by the way, 4 communities which have taken full advantage of their numerical preponderance and kind of dominate the Indian political scene. The only newcomers I can think of are the Yadavs. Otherwise, Patels, Jat, Reddys and Marathas, they constitute the first batch of Shudras who made it in a grand way in politics. I don't think it is impossible for the Patels as a community to take care of pockets of poverty within them, because no caste, however high in status, lacks or have no to total absence of poverty within it. This is a poor country after all. The Patels have that, and this is what they have taken advantage of.
All right, let me just turn to you, Professor Chopra, before I turn to Hidal. Are you somewhat surprised at the fact that even with when it comes to the IITs, so this is an argument that's often made, and this is a broader question on reservations, that by now, 21st century, institutes like the IITs, the IIMs, all of that should now be entirely about merit, and there should be no question of reservations at all?
I'm going to confine myself only to the technical and professional education. To me and to many of my colleagues, reservation of any type, on any basis, is basically debasing, is demeaning and debilitating intellectually and emotionally. I think people don't realize what these students who come into that, how they go through an IIT system. Okay, I think our constitution.
Once they get into the IIT system through reservations, after that they have a really difficult time.
They have a difficult time. But you allow me a few more minutes. Okay. Our constitution, of course, ensures equal rights to everyone, and our great government also has a lot of slogan now. Sab ka saath, I say sab ke saath, sab ka vikas. But I think any sensible government, any sensitive government, what they should have done is they should provide opportunities, equal opportunities, level playing field, but through a variety of mechanisms. But many governments in the world do that. Many, like US does it. Right. So, for example, they could have provided stipends, fellowships, and most important, they should have by this time set up a bank for education for the needy and give a very cheap loan, which many civilized governments do that. Okay, so they have not done that. But that's not the only thing. It is already doing a lot of damage to our image, particularly from institutes of higher learning.
So do you agree with that? He's saying that in general, it causes a lot of problems even for the people who get into institutions of higher learning through reservation.
Professor Chopra seems to be autonomous of this country. He is from some different planet. I am product of reservation. I came to JNU, Jawaharlal Nehru University, under quota and got admission. Had there not been quota, I would have returned back to my Azamgarh district. Now I go to USA to teach without any quota. So how can you say that those who get into reservation becomes troublesome?
In a technical course,
talking at technical education. If you allow me, I'll give you examples. This year, for example, of course, things have been very bad. This year, I revealed to you, I was only in Patna yesterday, NIT Patna. We have in IITs and NITs is a 50% reservation now. In my days, when I was the director here, there was only 20-some percent. Okay. 50% reservation. The order from the MHRD is that you must fill all the seats. That's an order from the minister. They have gone down to as low as 1 to 2% marks for the backward classes. 1-2% marks
in the
out
IITs.
of 100 you get into IIT or NIT. There have been cases where 0 marks people have got into it because the government demands. The government demands all seats be filled. Now I give you something more than
sir,
that.
let me answer.
Udit Raj,
Allow me.
In 1856, when a college opened in Madras, at that time, the people in the school were only Brahmins, and they said, we cannot compete in this system, so therefore bring a third division.
Hang on. So there are two different issues. One is whether the entire question of whether...
Professor Chopra.
Hang on. Getting somebody into the IITs of 1 or 2% marks, and that's happening. Udit Raj, does that concern you a little bit?
What Mr. Chopra said, I completely disagree. till Mandal was implemented, there used to be cent% place of IITs for upper caste only. Can he tell one instance? Can he give me information that any original invention has been done by IITs?
Let's not debunk the IIT system entirely.
No.
You can't say IITs have not been great. Half the country.
No. Listen. So, not a single original invention has been done by these fellows. And in America,
so it's okay according to you, people are getting in with 2% marks.
Indian doctors were critical that not a single generic medicine has been invented in this country.
I'm sorry.
And
I think
Chopra,
you are not familiar with it. You are not familiar with it. But if you allow me,
I'm not sure which way we digress.
Life of gutter, have they experienced the life of untouchability? And I tell you, I am also product of reservation. I would have been gutter if there was no reservation. I am second to none at the moment, not only at the national level, international level. Without giving you opportunity, you are saying like this. Even
okay, Professor Chopra, then I want to come to another.
No, but I'm saying opportunity for all is the responsibility of a civilized government. And they can provide it by providing financial support, by providing preparatory courses. There is no way.
All we are copying,
Professor,
all we are modifying.
I'm not against it.
What are we talking about?
We should help people.
Uditraj. Yeah.
No. I think if I give you examples which most of you don't know, you'll be shocked. The whole country will be shocked.
Reservation is strengthening.
40-50% of them fail in the first year. Do you know what happens? The director of IIT Delhi is called by the minister. Banned. Why are they failing? And the poor fellow goes back and tells the departments he has passed them. Give another test. But that's not the only thing.
Uditraj, I'm sorry, this is...
It's a means to
nobody fails in IIT.
Uditraj,
nobody fails in IIT.
Hang on. One second.
Tell me one example.
He's saying that there are lots of examples people are failing.
I give you example of my own. I have 13 students of mine, PhD students, who have set up companies and they produce $1 billion. I cannot teach a class.
Can somebody... This is not...
Why
I understand that Parliament has not functioned for the better part of the last... Mr. Uditraj ji, I know Parliament hasn't functioned, but can we just allow somebody else? Two secs. Yeah, you have facts to substantiate
I wanted to
what
tell you that this is not only demeaning for people. I mean, if it's a good people, I'm not saying that we should not give them an opportunity. Equal opportunity. That's what US does. That's what many Western countries do. Give them opportunities to go through all the schools, training, money, whatever is required. We're not saying that. There should be almost zero interest. A bank which giving zero interest money to these people. They should spend an extra year in IIT.
What you're saying. Okay, can I just get Professor Ahmed in now? But then we are hearing about the debate, and this is the debate that has taken place around the concept of reservations for starters. Then we are saying, so there are two aspects that we are looking at. One is, should there be reservations at all, which is pretty much the point that at least a couple of people have made out here. Then is, who all should it go to? And now we've had Hamid Ansari right now questioning, for example. Now, if you are to look at socio-economic parameters, then you say which all of the communities that should get it. Then that's why the demand comes that should there be affirmative action for the Muslims, for example, if it comes to the statistics and the data. What is your stance on this?
I think there are three questions in it which you ask, and I would first, because I always make a distinction between what is and what ought to be, and it is very important to look at what is while discussing what ought to be. Because the discourse of affirmative action, not reservation, is not stagnant in our country. We must congratulate ourselves that this is not stagnant. It was started with reservation, and now we are talking about exclusion and inclusion, which are larger terms since 1990s.
So you're saying affirmative action can be done without necessarily reservations?
Yeah, reservation is one aspect of that. Now, coming back to reservation, there are various reports which have been published in last 50-60 years, and the philosophy of affirmative action has got 4 components, and we must recognize those 4 components. One is that there is a concept of backwardness. You have to identify what sort of backwardness you are looking.
Backwardness is one, yes.
Yeah. Second is you have to identify the criteria by which you are going to identify the backwardness of certain groups, caste, maybe one aspect, then language, religion, and things like that.
So we get all of that.
Third, no, that's important. The third point is the evaluation. Originally, it was said that reservation would be for certain times. So you have to have certain evaluation. And finally, the exit policy. Now, we have been talking about only the entry point, not the exit policy. Therefore, this, the Patel agitation or Jat agitation has got a very interesting, aspect, and that is social justice argument. The politics of victimhood. If you like to underline your presence in the political discourse, you have to say that I am victim, and reservation is the most.
But then the question becomes who is really a victim and who is not.
Yeah.
In the case of the Patel agitation, one of the questions.
No, I'm talking about the actual ways in which politics is played out.
Okay, so Varis Pathan, your view is that that Muslims should be extended reservations as well. Whatever the issues around reservations that we've been discussing. Why is it that you feel that there should be reservations now for Muslims also?
See, there are 17 crore Muslims in the country, out of which 10 crore is youth. 14% of their unemployment in urban area. I am telling you, urban Muslims is 14% unemployment. 3% Muslims are graduate. There is a highest dropout rate among Muslims and Dalits. Now, looking into this, empirical data is before us. So, should the Muslims and Dalit not be given reservation? The Vice President, Mr. Hamid Ansari, the other day in his speech, which was a measured speech, he did not ask for reservation, but he said affirmative steps should be taken. Now, what does he mean by taking affirmative steps? Because his Sachar committee is there. Sachar committee also said the Muslims of the country comes under the backwardness. There are socio and educationally backward. So, see, in Maharashtra, the High Court upholds that the reservation in education should be given to the Muslims. But the state government did not take out the ordinance. They did not give reservation to the Muslims. See, when there are three committees.
I think Hilal's point is that you can have affirmative action which is not reservations.
Yeah, but I'm also trying to underline the fact that Muslim community in India is not a homogeneous entity. You have to identify that the backwardness within Muslim has got an important, social dimension, which we must recognize while talking about affirmative action.
Okay, I think that's a valid point. Varis Pathan, your point may be valid for a community as a whole, but there are large sections there are large sections within the Muslim community which may be poor and may be backward, and their socio-economic conditions may have weakened relative to the average. Yeah. But it's not everyone. So surely it should not be purely on religious grounds. Or is that what you're arguing? Because there could be Muslims who are actually very well off, highly educated, but should they get reservations?
Vikram, we did not ask reservation on the religion ground. We asked the reservation on the socio-educational backwardness of the community. And that is an empirical data to it.
So you would say,
the government feels that the data is before them, they should be given.
Hang on. I'm trying to understand.
Reservation. Muslims should be given reservation in the field of education.
Yes. Mr. Pathan, hang on. So I'm just trying to understand where you're standing. Yeah. So therefore, it is your view that yes, if they are Muslims who are educationally backward, socio-economically backward, facing poverty, they should be given affirmative action. But if they are Muslims who are well off, well educated, prosperous, then they should not be given affirmative action. Is that what you're saying?
Say Vikram, Varis Pathan is not asking reservation for himself.
Yeah, that's what
Varis Pathan is not asking reservation for his son. Varis Pathan is asking reservation for those backward people who have been deprived of proper education. Every parent, every Muslim parent in the country wants their son to become an IPS officer or an IAS officer. So why don't you give reservation to those people? The Bombay High Court has upheld that the reservation should be given on an education basis.
But this is the familiar creamy layer argument that we've often had in the past. Udit Raj, let me come back to you on this. So if you are, Udit Raj, you are arguing rather eloquently and forcefully about the fact that reservation is still important, and particularly in the case of the Dalits. The question therefore being asked by Varis Pathan is that if that is to be done looking at empirical evidence, there are certainly sections of the Muslim community, not the entire Muslim community, but sections of the Muslim community in whose case the empirical data shows more backwardness than, for example, among the OBCs. So what should happen there?
See, I tell you, Muslim leaders and intellectuals are really not concerned about their community. there is ample opportunity and scope to get reservation in Mandal Commission, that is OBC quota. What is happening that in OBC quota, there are hundreds of castes included in it. Some of the castes grab the reservation, others are left out. So what is remedy is to bifurcate 27% reservation amongst different categories, because few dominant castes are eating up the reservation. They have never taken up that issue. Why are not they taken up that issue?
This is not true.
If they take up that issue.
Okay.
No,
Muslims,
it's not forcibly
look
taken.
at
It is
Dalit
not
Muslim
forcibly
argument.
Hilal trying to say something.
No,
Raj,
no,
is coming back to
tell
you.
me
No,
where-
no, this is
What
not
is Raj
true.
Patel? Yeah.
This is not true because Ali Anwar, who is MP from Rajya Sabha, has always been demanding that we need not to have
that-
OBC
but it is not-
bifurcation
it
of
is not
OBC on
taken
religious
that
basis. What is
much
important, you
forcibly
just apply the economic
that it
criteria
should be
within OBC.
like
The
in
poorer
Bihar.
would go to the
In
most
Bihar,
backward, and
there
then
is a
OBC. So
categorization,
no, that's not the case.
Mandal quota, MBC, most backward caste and backward caste.
Okay.
Similarly, there is a need to
Fine,
bifurcate
Udit Raj, we've
that.
heard you. Sir, we've heard you. I'm just trying to get reactions to what you've just said. Baris Pathan, the point that he is making is
Article 29 and 30. Why is everybody forgetting Article 29 and 30 of the Constitution, which says right to equality, equality before law? So where does the upper caste and the lower caste comes into fill? If reservation is to be given, reservation should be given. When there is an empirical data, why do you hide it? People require reservation in certain fields. See, Marathas are given reservation, Jats are given reservation. We are not against that. You give them reservation. But similarly, give reservations to those Muslims who have remained backward. And see, the VP has also made this statement. In speech, he says that Muslims have been shown to data that they have gone back. There are 3 committees report which is suggestive of the fact that the Muslims in the Maharashtra state as well as the country should be given reservation.